Okay.
Best approach for hard-headed people.
So my first question here is whose perspective,
Okay?
right? Are we talking about how you approach a best approach for dealing with or managing hard-headed people, or are you the hard-headed one who's trying to figure out, yeah, what's the best approach for you? And if you are that, I applaud you. I acknowledge you because it's so difficult to acknowledge that I'm hard-headed myself. So good job there.
Mm-hmm. So, Lippy, what do you think? Let's take your two perspectives. Which one would you like to tackle first if we were to spend time?
That's the let's take it. Okay, I'll take it from the experience I have with running workshops with you guys and the participants. They all usually ask this from the perspective of if I'm dealing with someone hard-headed,
Okay.
which is in and of itself already something that I'd be curious about if I were coaching this situation. And okay, so this isn't something practical first. This is something about the mindset of how you're looking at the situation, right? Because
Right.
this is you asking us, how do I deal with a hard-headed person? My curiosity is, if we ask that person that you're trying to deal with, who's hard-headed, who do you think the answer will be?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm quite confident most of the time it won't be me. They won't say who's hard-headed. Me, I'm the one hard-headed. Usually they'll point the finger back at you or someone else, right? So that's my first tip here. There's something that's not being understood, or maybe there are assumption or there's a judgment flying around, even with the label of a person being hard-headed,
Right.
right? So that's a check for us. And if a person, when you say hard-headed, that means that they're either, I'm just assuming stuff here, Pao, with a question. They're really adamant about their stand, they're strong about their opinion, they don't want to budge, they have a position they don't want to move from. And
Right.
usually there's a reason for that,
Right.
right? So the first tip I'd give here is, let's try to understand the reason and give them a chance to share what that reason is. It's habit 5. So we teach 7 habits. Habit 5: seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Understood.
Right. So if I want to get across my message, I have to understand where's this person coming from, so that I can, I can massage, if you would, for lack of a better term, massage what I want to say, so the person also understands what I'm trying to get at. Because if I'm stuck with my mindset that this person is a hard-headed person,
Right.
that will influence how I deal with this person.
Right. And Lippy, I like what you said there, and I absolutely agree that the application of, as you put it, habit 5, or basically listening to the other party first, is critical in this situation. I think another question I would ask is also, where or perhaps how is the hard-headedness coming out? Is it a matter of, maybe there are two that I can think of immediately. Maybe the first one is it about not getting the results or the outcome that we expect from that person?
Yeah.
Or is it about the behavior itself? And I'll try to distinguish. So if it's about results or outcome, maybe let's say I'm a boss or I'm a supervisor or even a parent, and I want, let's say as a parent, since it's something that we said earlier, we shared. Let's say the outcome is I want my son to finish his food. So the outcome is ubos yung plato niya. It's a clean plate, as we've all been taught before. And maybe we feel it's hard-headed because after every meal, it's just not finished. There are bits and pieces of rice and meat and what have you. Now, that's results. On the other hand, if it's behavior, then maybe hard-headedness might be actually going against something that we ask. So again, if we were to stick with the parental perspective here, then is it about me saying, don't do this, and my son doing exactly what I told him not to do? And I think those are two different ways of looking at or defining hard-headedness. So I think the question in my head would be, how does it come out? When we say hard-headed, is it because we're not getting what we expect as an outcome? Or is it because the person is actually behaving in a way that maybe we told them not to do? Or they're not doing what we asked them to do? So two perspectives there. And I think the reason I distinguish is because if it's about outcome, then it might beg the question, what if the person actually did put the effort in? What if the person actually, let's say my son, did eat his
or even what if the person didn't understand what you wanted out of that?
Perhaps.
right?
Expectations were not clear.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So even so, like I can just to be really blunt about it, I have a 1-year-old son. I'm sure he doesn't understand everything. I say he understands some, right?
Right.
And this might happen to us. I can think if it in an office setting where I'm trying to communicate something, but the person might not be understanding, or maybe it's not really at this level or at their level, at their current level. Maybe it's not feasible. It's not something that people might be at a adequate level of skill or capability
Right.
to actually, actually deliver. So there's that. And then in our head, the danger I feel here is in my head, I've already labeled this person as a hard-headed
Absolutely.
person.
Behavior from us, whether we know it or not. We likely will treat hard-headed people differently. Like if it's an office setting or an organizational setting, we likely are more inclined to micromanage this person, or at least be extra watchful with them. And human nature being human nature, you can tell me if you agree with this or not, Lippy. My belief is the more we micromanage people, in my experience rather, the more we micromanage, the more we watch, the more we back check on people, the more likely it is that they will either deliberately find ways to be hard headed, as we put it, or the less motivated they will actually be, genuinely motivated they will actually be to do something. They likely will comply out of fear, maybe just out of respect for authority, but there will be very little sincerity and it's going to break down at one point.
Yeah, so there other again it really depends on the situation. Another tip I want to share with everyone is if you're trying to if it's hard-headedness because of a difference of perspective, and and this might happen to you. Okay, I'll put it in an example so it's a little bit more concrete. I used to have a staff who always came in late.
Mm-hmm.
But he would always tell me, no, he's not late.
Okay.
No, I'm not late that often, sir. But you
Mm-hmm.
were no, I mean, so it could be something as simple as going back to the facts.
True.
Right? And before we move on to the next question, the next topic, sometimes it's going back to what is the actual reality of the situation. Going back to what is
Absolutely.
the facts, because it could be at the end of the day, it could be because they're not understanding what is the reality, or I'm not removing the possibility that it's me who was wrong and
Mm-hmm.
he's coming from the right facts, or she's coming from the right data.
Right.
So and that's again something that's so if to just for me to get the same page with that staff of mine, I had the HR department pull up all the historical data of the person's attendance and show that person, you have been late X times on average every month
Mhm.
for the past how many months. So tell me,
And I
right?
think that brings us back to the very first point you made. Tell me, which is basically, I'd like to understand. Of course, there is likely some frustration and emotion there. But if we get across the intent and the desire to understand, then I think it allows us to get over the hard-headed hump, so to speak.
Or it's some or it's my feeling about having to deal with this person.
Right. And it's not to say that it will entirely remove as you put it, the stubbornness or the persistence. But I think the emotional response on our end will likely be tempered a bit. There will be more understanding, maybe a bit more patience, or at the very least, on our end, there will be more ability for us to say, okay, I've been clear about what my expectations are. I've been clear about my stand on this. And the choices here are this person's then.
Yeah, yeah. Or at the very least, that you have more understanding to make a better decision.
Absolutely.
Even if the decision is at the end of the day, I'm not gonna give this job to this person. This
Right.
doesn't get it. Just give it to someone else.
Right, yes.
Right.
If at the end of the day, as you put it, the facts point to that, then I think it works out. And it will not be a rash judgment, so to speak.
Right. All right.